The European Commission has presented today a Migration and Asylum Pact. This is something that Renew Europe has been waiting for many, many months, and we're here to discuss the outcome with two of our members. We are with our first Vice President, Malik Azmani, and with our member, Jan-Christoph Oetjen, who are also the co-authors of the Renew Europe position paper on migration and asylum, which we already presented on the month of January. So this is basically all in the news. Mr. Azmani, goedemiddag. Are you, in general, satisfied with the outcome of the Commission presentation today? Not into detail, just in general. We will go through it.
Yeah, no, I think it's good to see that they also use a lot of elements from our paper. The reason why we presented that paper in January was also to feed the Commission with ideas. And what we see now is also an interlinked approach. Just that means that also the Commission see the opportunities outside the European Union, for example, the external dimension of migration, but also to see that we on the borders of the European Union need to do the first selection, who have a chance to have a permission of stay in the European Union and who not, so that we are more in control. And I think that what we see now in these proposals, and of course I need to study the proposals more, but that the framework is a good direction. But we are also, I think, missing things in this proposal. For example, the legal pathways, and when we talk about labor migration.
Mm-hmm. And from your side, which are the key points or that you think are, for instance, missing from the Commission's proposal?
Well, first of all, I think it's a good base to discuss on. But as Malik already mentioned, the legal pathways for migration, they are missing. They have not been addressed in the press conference. This concerns, on the one hand, humanitarian pathways, like resettlement programs, and this concerns as well pathways for legal migration to the labor market. We know that there are lots of people that want to come to Europe, that want a job in Europe, and it's normal. My ancestors did the same while going to the US. They had a look for a new job, but we have to control this migration flux. And so I think if we don't have the labor migration within the pact, it's not a complete pact. It's missing. So on the one hand, it's a good base. As Malik said, there are a lot of elements inside that come from the Renew Europe proposal, but there are some lacks, let's say like this.
First of all, obviously, the European institutions must be united to carry on this. But not only this, because we're talking about migration that comes from outside of the EU, so obviously there are a lot of international actors involved. Which international actors can we or do we need to count with in order to carry on with this pact? Mr. Azmani?
Yeah, we start, of course, with the countries of origin, where people's coming from. They need also to take responsibility about migration and migration governance, and to prevent also the irregular migration stream from their countries. That means also for the countries of transit. What we need to do, and that we do together with those countries, is to dismantle the business model, the cynical business model of people smugglers that we need to tackle. And then, of course, in the European Union, we are, as member states, common responsible for our borders, for example. This is not only a responsibility for Greece or for Spain, for example, but it is a common European responsibility in our view. And that means also that we need to do that together in the European Union to control the migration, but also to have the solidarity in the European Union.
The Renew Europe paper states refugee camps must not be regarded as permanent settlements. This would be our ultimate goal, but there are still many of them, and we all know it. It was been exactly in the news last week, the big fire that it was in the Moria camp, which is in Lesbos, which already left a lot of people that they already had nothing with even less. What's the current situation on the camps? Are they really people starting to be relocated to other member states? Is there enough people from the EU, from the organizations and agencies working there to help them? And also about the quotas, Johansson, the commissioner, said that there will be no mandatory quotas in this new pact. Which is our position on that? Should we have mandatory quotas for the member states?
Well, first of all, concerning the camps, we cannot accept that there are camps like the camp in Moria no longer. So we have to avoid that new of such kind of camps are at the borders of the European Union. In order to not to have such camps, from my point of view, we have to make sure that the people who arrive in Europe, they stay there for a short time and not for a long time, for months or for years, like they did at the moment. We started relocation of unaccompanied minors, of families with children, of the most vulnerable groups. But on the other hand, it's as well of the Greek authorities that have to find solutions for the situation in Lesbos. So we as European Union have to help, and we want to help, but the help has to be, they have to call for help as well. We cannot go there and say, now we're here, we know everything's better. I mean, they are a state, they have to decide on their own. If we have a look at the situation on the African continent, for example, we know that there are people who want to come to Europe, and normally they take a boat and then they get over, or they don't get over, and they drown at the sea, and we have to avoid this. So from my point of view, you mentioned, Malik, that we have to cooperate with countries of origin. We have to cooperate as well with the UNHCR, with the High Commissioner for Refugees, and make sure that people who are really in need for help, that they have a legal pathway to Europe as well, and that they don't have to go to take the boat and to cross the Mediterranean Sea. From my point of view, this is very important, and that's missing at the moment in the pact that has been proposed today.
When we talk about the refugees, the reception centers that they are settled in many, many countries, do you think that they have enough facilities to take care of the people that they are welcoming when it comes to sanitary options, and to make sure that they have all the human rights that we all really fight for?
Yeah, it's all about policy. I believe when we saw this terrible situation in Moria, that is existing for many years. And we accept that. Also here in the European Parliament, we had the debates in the last couple of years. That is unacceptable, but still it was. And now they will change. And now you will see also that the Greek government accept also the European support more to do it on a proper way. And I think that is very necessary, that it's not only a responsibility of one country, especially Greece, but also that the influence from European is much stronger to do it on a dignity way, and that is not in some policy to prevent people, for example, to go to Greece because the shelters are deplorable. That means responsibility. Yeah, in our view, we want to see in the future European reception centers and also European decisions on our borders who will get a refugee status, for example, and who will get not a refugee status. But I think in the Commission proposal, this is a first good step, but we need to see. We need to study, of course, the proposals. We need to push on more, I think, also on this specific thing, but because it needs also to implement well that we have. And I don't think so that the money, for example, is the case. It's more about how you want to behave, and we wanted to behave on a human and dignity way. But the procedures need to be fast, and that's also lacking, of course, in Greece for the last couple of years.
Which is the criteria that is followed to give the refugee legal status to those applicants? What is the pen? Are they taking into account, as you mentioned before, if they have families, if they have children, if they have relatives already in the United Europe? I think is one of them. What do we know? How hard or how easy is for them to get this status?
Well, first of all, what the Commission proposed today is to have a border procedure in the sense that they have a health check, a security check, that they have for the Eurodac informations. You take fingerprints, etc., etc., and then they assess what's the situation of the person. Is it a person that has links to other countries, or is it a family, kids, etc.? And then they decide, is this a person that has to be distributed to other countries when there are links, or when there are kids, for example, or when it comes from when they come from a country where it's war, or where we have a high number of positive asylum decisions. And those are distributed to other countries, and those who have not such a situation, there we have a swift procedure where the asylum application has a decision after 12 weeks. That's what the Commission proposes. I would like to see this happen, to be very clear, but I don't trust so much in this time frame that has been given by the Commission, because we know already from Germany or other countries that often it is said we want a decision within 3 months or 2 months, or it doesn't matter, but at the end it takes always longer than foreseen. So we have to make sure that there are proper and good and fair decisions for the asylum applicants, because they have the right to have a fair assessment of their demand. But it has to go swift as well. So this is a little bit contradictory, and that's why, from my point of view, it's important that we don't do the whole process on the border, but that we bring them, for example, in other camps that have a good situation, other than Moria, for example, where they can wait for the decision, even if they're not transferred to other countries.
Mm-hmm. For those who achieve this legal status of refugee, because there are plenty of refugees, not just only from Syria, who are really skilled, who are important professions back in their countries of origins, and then they are slowly, some cases of some of them, that they are developing their careers in the EU, which is obviously a good for the EU because of its growing our economy and our labor market. What is the EU actually doing to help to these refugees who are then entitled to be in the EU to develop their studies, or if they want to open their own businesses?
Yes, if they already have a refugee status in the European Union, they can, of course, have the opportunity also to study in the European Union, or if they already have the degrees, to do a job in line with their degrees, and maybe they need extra courses or something like that. But I think the main purpose is that we see also that the European Union for the future needs a labor migration. It's not only high skilled, it is, I think, also in the future, and it differs also on member states, low qualified labor migration. And what also Jan-Christoph mentioned, and what I also mentioned in the start, what's lacking on these proposals, on the Commission proposals, of course, that part, because they have a link. And what you don't need, we need to prevent that asylum migration is mixed with labor migration. It's a totally different approach, and we need to have more opportunities and legal pathways. On the labor migration, you need to also rethink what will be, for example, the maximum permission to stay, for example, stimulate more circular migration. See also 2 examples in Canada, Australia, and the United States. And there we need also huge reforms. And that's a little bit lacking now in these proposals. It's concentrated on the irregular migration stream. And I understand a little bit the Commission, because it is very difficult also, the both parts. There are a lot of opinions in the different member states, and you want also to make steps forward. Because I understand also a little bit why they, but still you could have maybe give some ideas also on that labor migration, and it's now lacking in this proposal. This for the future, we need also have the reforms on that specific migration stream, and now see if we can be in control of the migration stream, also from asylum, and that we prevent the irregular streams, to prevent that people are risking their lives, need to pay a lot of money on people smugglers, and do it on a decent and dignity way. And I believe we can do that on resettlement procedures, legal pathway, but then you need to stop the stream, what we now have these days.
The Dublin regulation is the one that establishes the member state responsibility for the asylum application. You did a couple of tweets regarding on this topic. What should we do with the Dublin regulation according to you and to Renew Europe?
Well, let's be very clear, Dublin is broken. It did not work and it will not work. So from my point of view, it's the Commission proposal to abolish the Dublin regulation is a good one, to be very clear. We see today that most people, they arrive in a couple of countries. They don't arrive in the whole European Union. They arrive in a couple of countries. And those countries are, some of those countries, let's say, are not in a situation to deal with all these asylum applications. Cyprus has been quoted, Malta has been quoted. These are examples. Greece has huge difficulties, but the situation can be the same in let's say, Italy or Spain as well. So from my point of view, it's important that we show the solidarity in the European Union to take up these people if they have good chances to have a positive asylum application, to bring them to other countries and to have the asylum procedure in these countries. When you look at Germany, in 2015 we took a lot of migrants from Syria, refugees that fled the war. Today, 5 years later, kind of, almost 50% of them have a job. What I want to say is that it's not only a burden to take migrants, to take refugees, it's a chance as well. The views in the member states are very different. We know this. And in the last term, we proposed a mandatory system with relocation into all the member states. This has not been accepted, and we have to acknowledge this. So I think the proposal that is now on the table, that means to have a solidarity mechanism where all member states have to participate, and solidarity is not voluntary but mandatory. But the relocation of migrants is not mandatory. So the member states can decide on which cluster they want to help. I think this is a good proposal and a good base to go forward because for me it's clear we need to help migrants and refugees. But if they have a negative asylum decision, they have to go back as well. This is part of an asylum procedure that we have returns, and we need to step up on returns because it does not work neither. So from my point of view, this is a good mix, a good balance.
There are a lot of EU funds designated to help the member states to carry on with this process. And actually today in the press conference to Commissioner Johansson, she has been asked if the rule of law is something that has to be taken into account for those member states in order to get that funds. This is something that Renew Europe really claim for, our rule of law mechanism, but not just for migration in general.
No.
And in this particular case, because she really didn't give an answer. So can we push somehow in order that member states have to comply with the rule of law to get funds for migration?
For Renew Europe, it's our identity, rule of law. It's all about liberal values. It's all about our freedom, but also to have a respectable judiciary. That's for us essential, and that means for all funds from the MFF. And that's also the reason why we want to have a really strong conditionality from the MFF, but also from the Recovery Fund for the member states, because it's our backbone from the European Union, our liberal values. That's the reason why we're also existing as the European Union. And it's impossible that member states like Hungary or Poland, it's really that you don't have a real sanction or action as a European Union when they are in violence with our liberal values. And that means that we need to have that, and that for me personally, but I know for sure that's for for Renew Europe, each fund in the MFF is conditional on rule of law. Because I don't also understand why member states who are messing with the rule of law, why they want to stay at the European Union, for example. This is our link. This is why we are brothers and sisters, and then that we need also to protect, also for outside, because it's also a geopolitical reason why we need to engage to each other and also to be clear if your friend are messing with the rule of law. Yeah.
We can claim this rule of law mechanism and our conditionality to the EU member states. But what happened with other countries, for instance, Turkey? So Turkey is it should be one of our biggest partnerships as one of the main doors from migration, and especially illegal migration that comes from the Middle East. Which is the relation with Turkey in this moment when it comes to migration in order to have this cooperation working?
Well, Turkey is an important partner. And we give a lot of funds to Turkey within the EU-Turkey deal in order to help migrants that stay in Turkey at the moment. I want to remember that Turkey took a lot more Syrian refugees than the whole European Union, to be very clear. And we need Turkey as partner to help in order to help these refugees. But to be very clear, the Turkey deal does not work very well because Erdogan, as Turkish leader, uses this deal in order to blackmail the European Union. And this is not acceptable. Renew Europe asks the Turkey deal to be a real treaty, a treaty that is discussed within the parliament, and that is controlled as well by the parliament. So I think we need Turkey, but it has to be better than it is at the moment.
Commissioner Skinas and Commissioner Johansson will present tomorrow this pact in the Liberties Committee. Do you have a message for them? Mr. Azmani?
It's time to act. I think we waited already for 5 years. It's now time to act. We needed to do it fast, and of course, we need also to do it in the parliament. And I see also, of course, the different opinions, etc. But please make compromises. Do it fast. Let's see that we can gain control of this migration stream. I think that the citizens need it also in our member states, and that we take that action. This, for me personally, I want to see action. Today is the first start to act. We did it 6 months ago in our new mandate. I think we have fed them with our ideas. You see it also in the proposals, and now it's time to act and to deliver.
What about yourself? What would you first tell them if you could?
Well, I agree with Malik, it's time to act. But on the other hand, I would tell them don't touch the fundamental rights of asylum, because this is at stake. We cannot accept that a 5 days procedure replaces a proper asylum procedure. For me, that's clear. We have to make sure that the camps and the border procedure do not lead to new Moria camps. This is very clear as well. So we need safeguards in this, and I agree that we have to make compromises. That's for sure. But there are fundamental values that cannot be compromised, and these fundamental values, these humanitarian values, these fundamental rights, we have to assure them, and we in Parliament will make sure that the EU proposals have these safeguards.
So we are in a first day of a new chapter for the European Union in such an important topic, which is migration and asylum. I thank you a lot so much for being here with us and being physically. Thanks to COVID, we can still do it. So this will not be the last time that we meet. This topic just started now. And for all of you at home, if you're interested in finding out more about the Renew Europe Migration and Asylum Pact, you can find it in our website, reneweuropegroup.eu. And stay tuned, because we will discuss this for longer times in next occasions. Thank you so much to all of you at home. And thank you so much, Malik, Azmani, Jan-Christoph, Oetjen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.